On the day I gave birth, labor pains tore through my body. Instead of Marcus's comfort, what awaited me was the divorce agreement he handed over. Sign it. The next second, his cell phone rang, and his harsh tone instantly softened. Scarlett, don't worry. I'll be with you as soon as I'm done here. I'll never miss your prenatal appointments. No physical pain could compare to the heartache. I was speechless. The nurses in the hospital room held their breath. Through my pain-blurred vision, his tone turned nasty. Who told you to get pregnant before Scarlett? I can't let her suffer any injustice. So, I'll have to divorce you first. Let her child be the heir to the Vance family fortune, and then remarry you. But he forgot. It was he who once held me and said he wanted a child that was ours. While I was in the delivery room, fainting from pain, he was booking the best private hospital for Scarlett. By the time he finally remembered me, it was half a year later. Where is Grace? Tell her Scarlett's baby has been born, and we can remarry. Marcus. Grace, she remarried with the child, looking at the divorce agreement on the table. My heart ached so much I could barely breathe. Having just given birth, I was incredibly weak. I never imagined Marcus, who once so eagerly anticipated us having a child, would now throw a divorce agreement in my face. Marcus's gaze was icy. I owe Scarlett too much. Her child must be the heir to the Vance family fortune. I held back my tears with great effort. Marcus took on a family task, working hard to establish himself while concealing his identity. He worked hard for 5 years, and I was by his side for 5 years. On our wedding day, he held me, his eyes filled with tenderness. Grace, you've suffered these past years. I promise I'll make it up to you. But as soon as Marcus took over the family's affairs, Scarlett returned. All these years of my companionship felt like a joke. Seeing tears in my eyes, Marcus's tone softened slightly. Scarlett has had a tough time these past years. Our family owes her. I promise, after Scarlett's baby is born, I will remarry you. Marcus's finger tapped the divorce agreement on the table. First child. This divorce must happen. With that, he turned and left. Sarah, Marcus's sister, sat by my bed, her expression complex. Sister-in-law. Maybe I can try to persuade him again. I shook my head bitterly. Marcus would do anything for Scarlett. My cell phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number. When I answered, it was Scarlett's triumphant voice. Congratulations, Grace. You just gave birth and now you're divorced. Marcus has been clinging to me lately. Do you want me to talk to him for you? I trembled with anger, taking several deep breaths to calm myself. He's been mine for 9 years. If you want him, he's all yours. On the other end, her breathing hitched noticeably. After a long silence, Scarlett became furious. Bitch, if you hadn't interfered back then, how would I have ended up marrying that ill-fated man? Everything now. You all owe me for it. I didn't want to say anything more to her, so I hung up the phone. Sarah, Marcus's sister, snorted beside me. She clearly coveted the family's power, which is why she actively married David. After died, she hooked up with his younger brother. Ultimately, she loves no one but the heir to the Vance family fortune. My heart was filled with bitterness. Even my younger sister, who was still in school, understood this truth. Why couldn't Marcus understand? He kept saying that everything was to compensate Scarlett. Why did this compensation have to come at my expense? By hurting me? At this thought, I couldn't hold back anymore. With trembling hands, I signed the divorce agreement. After asking my younger sister to take it home to Marcus, I dialed the number that had been gathering dust in my contacts. Ethan, you said you'd always wait for me. Does that still hold true? Ethan was silent for a moment, his voice deep. Always. Grace, has Marcus been mistreating you? I lowered my head bitterly, offering no reply. Ethan snorted coldly. The person he doesn't cherish, plenty of others will. A warmth spread through my heart. After making arrangements with Ethan, I hung up the phone. Once I completed my postpartum recovery period, I could be discharged with the baby and go to Seaside. I lay in the hospital bed, unsure how much time had passed. Marcus suddenly burst in, his face grim. Grace, you knew Scarlett was already heartbroken after David passed away. How could you insult David in front of Scarlett? Grace, have you no conscience? No matter what Scarlett said, Marcus would always accuse me without distinguishing right from wrong. Marcus's face was icy as he stood by my hospital bed. Apologize to Scarlett now. I looked at him calmly and slowly began to speak. I never insulted David. It was Scarlett who called David that ill-fated man. Marcus's brows furrowed even deeper, and his gaze at me was filled with intense disgust. Do you think I'll believe you? Scarlett, her face pale. Faint sincerity as she pulled Marcus. It's fine. Don't make things difficult for Grace. She just said a few harsh words about David and me. It's nothing. What? She dared to curse at you? Rage threatened to erupt from Marcus's eyes. He abruptly yanked me to the floor. A sharp pain shot through my hand, and I realized then that the foreneedle had been torn out. He glanced coldly at my bleeding hand. Don't think you can gain my sympathy this way. Get on your knees and apologize to Scarlett immediately. I felt nothing but utter absurdity in my heart. Marcus, what right do you have to make me apologize? Don't forget, we're already divorced. The words had barely left my lips when Marcus sneered, looking at me with contempt. So that's why you suddenly called Scarlett to curse her out. Turns out you're still blaming me for divorcing you. He grabbed my arm with such force that I winced. Grace, as long as you apologize obediently, once Scarlett gives birth, I promise I'll remarry you. I used all my strength to shake him off. When did I ever say I'd remarry you? Marcus, we're over. A shadow instantly flickered in Marcus's eyes. Still throwing a tantrum with me? Grace, I don't fall for that kind of act. Whether you like it or not, you will apologize to Scarlett today. With that, he yanked my hair and kicked me in the knee. My legs gave out, and I instantly lost all strength. Collapsing directly onto my knees in front of Scarlett, Marcus violently pushed my head down, forcing it to hit the floor. No matter how I struggled, he wouldn't ease up even a bit. Scarlett stood in front of me, watching triumphantly, but her words were insincere. There. Women are most vulnerable when they're pregnant, but after hearing Scarlett, Marcus pressed down even harder. Grace, you knew Scarlett was pregnant and still provoked her. What kind of intentions do you have? Scarlett may be kind, but that doesn't mean no one will protect her. Today, I'm going to teach you a lesson, so you know that some people are off limits. My forehead was forced to hit the cold floor, again and again. After I don't know how long, Marcus finally released his hand. My vision darkened. Sounds abruptly faded from my ears, and I collapsed onto the floor, losing consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in bed. Marcus sat by the bed, his guilt-filled eyes fixed on me. Grace, you're awake? I turned my head away, unwilling to acknowledge him. It's all your fault, Scarlett said to Marcus. I told you not to be so excessive. Scarlett sashayed over and sat down beside Marcus. Grace, I apologize to you on Marcus's behalf. Please forgive us. I remained silent, lost in thought, not speaking. Marcus and Scarlett whispered something quietly next to me. I couldn't tell what. After a while, Marcus tentatively spoke. Grace, I see your body hasn't fully recovered yet, so just stay in the hospital and recuperate. I frowned, a bad feeling rising in my heart. Sure enough, Scarlett stood nearby, a faint smile playing on her lips. Grace, Marcus means for you to focus on your recovery. We'll take good care of the baby for you. I looked at Marcus in disbelief. Marcus, what are you doing? That's your biological daughter. Seeing my strong reaction, Marcus frowned slightly, his expression impatient. Scarlett is about to become a mother. She just wants to get familiar with how to care for a baby beforehand. What's with that expression? Do you think I would harm my own daughter? Before I could even speak, Scarlett embraced Marcus, her face full of emotion. Marcus, you're so good to me, thinking of everything so thoughtfully. Marcus's grim gaze softened immensely as he looked at Scarlett. Of course, I've already arranged for my assistant to bring the baby over. No sooner had he spoken than the assistant hurried in, jogging with the baby in his arms. Marcus, something's wrong. There are rumors about you online. Saying you, the assistant looked at Marcus with some fear. Marcus frowned. Stop stammering. Speak up. The assistant took a deep breath. They're saying online that you cheated on your wife with your sister-in-law, abandoning your wife and child. Many people saw you and Miss entering the hospital together. Now a crowd is causing a commotion downstairs at the hospital, demanding Miss come out and explain herself. Marcus slammed his hand on the table, snarling. What if I don't explain? The assistant looked at Marcus nervously. But William just called and said you should only come home after you've resolved this. Forget it, Marcus. I don't want to put you in a difficult position. Scarlett stood up, her eyes red and tearful, but Marcus abruptly pulled her back. Marcus glanced back at me, then, after a moment of silence, made up his mind. Scarlett, sit down. Let her go. It was as if I'd heard the biggest joke in the world. It's your family matter. Isn't it inappropriate to send an outsider like me? Marcus couldn't meet my gaze directly. None of your pictures have been made public online, so they don't know who you are. Scarlett is pregnant now and shouldn't be startled. Grace, please, I'm begging you. I sneered. I won't go. It's not something I did. Marcus's face darkened. He ordered his assistant to take my daughter to the window. Grace, don't push me. Believe me or not, I'll make sure you never see your daughter again. I struggled to sit up, terrified that something might happen to my daughter. But before I could speak, Marcus ripped open my hospital gown. Chilly air hit my body in waves, making me tremble all over. I wished I could disappear into a hole in the ground. The assistant's face flushed, and he quietly turned his head away. Marcus, however, paid no mind, forcefully putting Scarlett's clothes on me. Grace, change your clothes and go out now. Otherwise, you can forget about seeing this child. Marcus pushed me to the hospital entrance. Someone saw the dress I was wearing and gasped. That's Scarlett. I just saw her walk into the hospital with my own eyes. A crowd surrounded me, pointing and whispering. Some passing older women, after hearing the story, pulled out vegetables and eggs from their bags and threw them at my head. I can't stand these homewreckers. Someone in the crowd started, and others also began to push and shove me. I fell to the ground, shaking my head desperately, but in the crowd, I saw Marcus's warning gaze, so I had no choice but to keep my mouth tightly shut, letting them hit and curse at me to vent their anger. I don't know how long it was before the crowd finally calmed down, covered in filth. I returned to my hospital room. Marcus looked at me with what seemed like pity, and perhaps a hint of heartache. I gave a bitter laugh, thinking perhaps the beating had made me hallucinate. Scarlett walked over to me, feigning concern, and handed the baby back. She glanced back at Marcus, then leaned in and whispered to me, "Your daughter certainly has a tenacious spirit. She didn't suffocate even after that." I looked at my daughter in my arms in a panic. My daughter's face was purple, and her whimper was so faint it was almost inaudible. I could no longer suppress my rage and slapped Scarlett hard across the face. The next second, Marcus roared and rushed towards me. He slapped me hard. "Grace, how can you be so vicious?" My ears rang, and my body trembled uncontrollably. Scarlett sobbed and clung to Marcus. "Marcus, don't blame her. She just suffered a grievance. It's fine if she vents her frustration on me." Hearing's words, Marcus's gaze at me was poisoned with venom. "Grace, how could you lay a hand on a pregnant woman? Are you even human?" I sneered, just about to speak, when I saw Scarlett collapse straight towards me. Marcus shoved me away and frantically reached out to catch Scarlett. His strength was so great that I instantly felt my balance shift, instinctively protecting the baby. My head hit the ground hard, and a searing pain shot through my entire body. My consciousness began to blur, and I vaguely heard their voices. "Scarlett, are you all right?" "Ah." "Marcus, my stomach hurts so much." The baby, no sooner had she spoken than a heavy door slammed shut, and silence fell over the hospital room. My vision suddenly went black, and I passed out. When I woke up, it was already the afternoon of the next day. Ethan sat by my bedside, his eyes bloodshot. My daughter was also lying safely in the crib beside me. Upon seeing Ethan, my eyes immediately welled up. "Ethan, you're finally here." Ethan's eyes were red-rimmed, and he reached out to wipe the tears from my face. "I'm sorry, Grace. I came too late. Tomorrow. No, today. Today I'll take you away." I nodded vigorously. My cell phone rang, and I answered with a frown. Marcus's voice was hoarse as he spoke hesitantly. "Grace, I was impulsive today. I promise, once Scarlett gives birth, I'll remarry you. It's only half a year. Just wait for me." I hung up the phone without hesitation. Ethan looked at me with a pained expression. "Grace, are you still going to wait for him?" I shook my head and, in front of Ethan, blocked all of Marcus's contact information. From now on, I have no connection to him. I took Ethan's hand. "Ethan, you've waited for me for so many years. This time, you have to let me speak first. Let's get married." Ethan seemed unaccustomed to my forwardness, sitting there stunned, taking a long time to recover. After a long while, he slowly took the diamond ring from his pocket. "I've prepared for this for a long time. Let me say it again. Grace, we grew up together. I've long decided that I would marry no one but you in this life. I missed 8 years of your life, but it's not too late now. Your daughter is my own daughter, and I will treat both of you well. So, Grace, Will you marry me? Tears in my eyes. I nodded, letting Ethan slip the diamond ring onto my ring finger. In this world, there will always be someone who doesn't look down on you and believes you are always worthy. I was fortunate to have found someone who would truly protect me. Ethan's butler was efficient and completed my discharge procedures by evening. Ethan carried me on his back to his home, which was just as I remembered it from my childhood. Ethan hired a high-priced personal doctor and a nutritionist. Under his care, I quickly recovered. He managed everything perfectly, and even my daughter adored him. Meanwhile, Marcus forcefully suppressed the online discussions. He ostentatiously booked the best private hospital for Scarlett to rest during her pregnancy. He even paid to put himself on the trending topics, creating a persona of a loving husband. I smiled without a word, turning to walk down the aisle with Ethan. In the blink of an eye, it was the day Scarlett went into labor. Outside the delivery room, Marcus made many calls to me, only to discover he had been blocked. He called for his assistant, his tone anxious. "Where is Grace? Scarlett has given birth. Tell her we can remarry." The assistant, who had stammered nervously back then, now looked at him calmly. "Marcus, Grace remarried with the child a long time ago." "What? How dare she?" Marcus's eyes held a mix of shock and rage. He hurried away, not even waiting for Scarlett's delivery results, and rushed home. Everything at home was the same as it had been half a year ago, as if I had never left. Marcus breathed a sigh of relief and looked at the nanny. "Where did Grace go? Is she still angry with me?" The nanny looked puzzled. "Didn't you divorce Grace? She remarried a long time ago." Rage seemed to erupt from Marcus's eyes. "How much did Grace pay you to lie to me like this?" His intense fury made the nanny's voice falter. "Marcus, I'm not lying to you. Everyone knows Grace remarried. That wedding was so lavish it even made it to the trending topics. If you don't believe me, search for it." But stormed out, slamming the door, convinced that I was just angry with him. He searched everywhere for me, but the words he heard were always the same. While he was hearing these things, I was sitting on the sofa, watching Ethan with our child. Everything concerning Marcus had become a thing of the past. I now had a new life, with a new person by my side. No matter what Marcus did now, my heart wouldn't stir a single ripple. I had thought Marcus and I would never cross paths again in this lifetime. To my surprise, I encountered him again at the most famous auction house in Sterling City. When saw me, his gaze was complex, and his fingers trembled slightly, but in an instant, he smiled. "Grace, are you here for me? I knew you were still waiting for me." Before I could speak, Scarlett, standing nearby, spoke in a mocking tone. "Of course she's here to spend your money. Otherwise, after the divorce, how would she afford to attend an auction like this?" Marcus's eyes held anticipation. "Grace, if there's any item you fancy, just tell me." As he spoke, Ethan walked towards me. I smiled faintly, turning to link my arm through Ethan's. "No need. Someone will naturally spend money on me, right, husband?" Ethan kissed me lightly on the forehead. "Naturally." Marcus looked at us in disbelief. "What did you call him?" "Are you really?" "I called him my husband. We've been married for a while now." My face serene, I raised my left hand. The diamond ring on my ring finger glittered brilliantly. "And thank you for divorcing me back then. I'm Mrs. John now." Marcus opened his mouth, but in the end, nothing came out. Scarlett, her face full of concern, helped Marcus. "Oh, Grace. How could she move on so quickly?" "Shut up. Don't talk about her like that." Marcus angrily flung Scarlett's hand away. I looked at him, somewhat surprised. It was the first time he had ever reprimanded Scarlett to defend me. Marcus ignored Scarlett and raised an eyebrow at Ethan. "I've never seen you before." Feeling a surge of displeasure, I stepped in front of Ethan. "Who do you think you are? Does everyone have to know you?" Marcus's smile was bitter. "You know that's not what I meant." Scarlett rolled her eyes and muttered under her breath. "Sterling City's upper crust isn't that big. If we haven't seen him around, he's definitely not from a prominent family." I frowned deeply and turned back to embrace Ethan. Ethan patted my head and held me close. He looked at Marcus, his gaze calm. "Indeed, we're not a prominent family, but we can certainly make your family go bankrupt overnight." Scarlett burst out laughing at his words and stood by Marcus's side again. Where did this pauper come from? Talking so big? Just because he got an invitation to an auction. He doesn't know his place. Do you really think the family is someone a commoner like you can provoke? As soon as Scarlett finished speaking, silence fell over the surroundings. People who had been conversing nearby fell silent, looking at Scarlett as if they wanted to speak but held back. Someone close to Ethan spoke up mockingly. "What is the family compared to the Jiang family? They don't even register." A wave of suppressed laughter spread through the room, and Scarlett stamped her foot in frustration. Marcus looked at Ethan in surprise. "Your last name is Jiang? That Jiang family?" Before could answer. The people around looked at Marcus with disdain. For someone considered a notable figure in Sterling City, not to recognize the head of the Jiang family, it's astounding where his priorities lie. He must have put all his attention on his sister-in-law. Though, I heard he even has a child with his brother's wife. The crowd burst into laughter. Marcus's face darkened. He glanced back at Scarlett. When he looked at us again, a complex emotion surfaced in his eyes. "What's so special about Grace that you would possibly be interested in her?" After saying that, he shot a glance at me, filled with a touch of remorse. Ethan took my hand. "It's enough that I find her good. That she would be interested in me is a blessing I earned in a past life." Marcus was speechless. The tumultuous emotions in his eyes were completely submerged, and he finally lowered his head. After a long silence, his Adam's apple bobbed twice, and his voice was hoarse. "Mr. Jiang, she used to have a weak stomach. Remember to have the kitchen prepare some warm porridge for her." Ethan looked at me, a gentle smile on his face. "No need for a reminder. I will naturally take good care of my wife." The hatred in Scarlett's eyes was almost overflowing. She stepped forward and clasped Marcus's arm, her voice wrapped in a wronged whine. "Marcus, stop bringing up these useless things from the past. Our child is waiting at home." "But Grace remarried long ago. How could she still have you in her heart? Have you forgotten how heartless she was, what she did to me back then?" But before she could finish, Marcus abruptly flung her arm away. Scarlett lost her balance, stumbled back 2 steps, and the fragility on her face instantly froze. She looked at Marcus in disbelief, her finger trembling as she pointed at me. "You pushed me for her." Marcus didn't even spare her a glance, his eyes still fixed on me. Ethan's arm around my waist tightened, as if asserting his claim, but a cold curve formed at the corner of his mouth. Ethan pulled a silver USB drive from his inner suit pocket, holding it between his fingers as he handed it to a nearby waiter. "Please put this on the big screen," he sneered, looking at Marcus. "Coincidentally, I just obtained a video today. It seems to be related to your companion." Scarlett's face instantly turned ashen. "What is that?" "Marcus. Stop him now." Marcus, however, seemed rooted to the spot, his eyes filled with surging doubt and alarm. In just a few seconds, the large screen, which had been displaying auction items, suddenly switched its display. In a dimly lit hotel room, 2 figures intertwined intimately. I was somewhat surprised to see that the man with Scarlett was actually a senior executive from the family. Scarlett's gasps were clearly audible. "Once I secure my position as the young mistress of the family, I'll help you get on the board of directors. If it weren't for our child, I wouldn't bother continuing this charade with him." The voices from the screen were not loud, yet they exploded like thunder in the auction hall. The crowd instantly erupted, and their glances at Marcus now held even more mockery. Marcus froze, his face turning ashen. He sharply turned his head to Scarlett, his voice laced with ice. "Bitch, you've been lying to me all along." Scarlett trembled all over, yet still tried to argue. "Marcus, this is fake. It's AI generated. They're framing me." Ethan sneered. "Shall I also play the recording of you discussing how to transfer the family's assets?" Marcus could no longer restrain himself and slapped her. Scarlett collapsed onto the floor, crying out. "He forced me. Marcus, believe me, I'm a victim too." Marcus looked as if he had heard the biggest joke in the world. He stepped forward, grabbed Scarlett's collar, his eyes burning crimson. "Bitch, I divorced Grace for you and your child, and did so many things to wrong her. But now you're telling me the child isn't mine, and you've been lying to me all along?" Scarlett, gasping for breath from his chokehold, her eyes red with fury, reached out and scratched Marcus's face. "So what? Your family owes me everything. When you went out to gain experience, the family kept it a secret. Otherwise, how could I have married that ill-fated man? All of this now is what you deserve. You're nothing but a brainless idiot." No sooner had she spoken than the two instantly began to brawl, the scene as chaotic as a farce. Scarlett was violently pushed to the ground by Marcus. She slumped onto the cold marble floor, her hair disheveled, her elaborate makeup smeared. I looked at Scarlett. Scarlett's eyes, like poisoned daggers, were fixed on me. "It's all your fault. Grace, all because of you. Her voice was hoarse, filled with deep-seated hatred. If it weren't for you, how would I have ended up like this? I could have had everything. I watched her coldly, my heart completely unmoved. You brought it upon yourself. Those 4 words seemed to ignite her final burst of madness. Scarlett whipped her head around, spotted a bottle of red wine on a nearby waiter's tray, and a vicious glint flashed in her eyes. She lunged forward, snatched the wine bottle, and screamed as she charged at me. Grace, die! The heavy wine bottle, whistling through the air, came straight for my face. Everything happened too fast. I instinctively tried to step back, but my feet felt frozen. In that split second, a figure suddenly stepped in front of me. Thud! With a dull thud, the wine bottle smashed squarely into Marcus's shoulder. Crimson wine splattered, staining his white shirt red. For a moment, I couldn't tell if it was wine or blood on him. Scarlett also froze, looking at Marcus's bleeding shoulder. A flicker of panic crossed her eyes, but it was immediately replaced by deeper resentment. Marcus spun around, snatched the neck of the broken wine bottle from Scarlett's hand. Without thinking, he swung it backhand at Scarlett. Scarlett shrieked, haphazardly reaching out to block. You crazy woman, Marcus roared. Are you trying to kill her? Scarlett laughed and cried like a madwoman. Yes, I want to kill her. What I can't have, no one else will. You're protecting her again? You're actually protecting this bitch again. Just then, clear and sharp police sirens sounded from not far away. Ethan put away his phone and calmly put his arm around my shoulder. Looks like the police arrived just in time. It was then that Marcus seemed to come back to his senses. Ignoring his bleeding shoulder, he looked at me anxiously. Grace, are you all right? I calmly interrupted him, my tone distant and polite. Thank you. I'm fine. My gaze swept over his bleeding shoulder, but I felt no extra emotion. If it had been in the past, I would have been overwhelmingly moved. But now, looking at this, it was as if I was watching a stranger get hurt for another stranger. The police quickly rushed in, and with everyone's testimony, Scarlett was handcuffed on the spot. Marcus, save me. I know I made a mistake. Scarlett struggled, casting a pleading look at Marcus for help, but turned his face away, his voice icy. You committed a wrongdoing. You must bear the consequences yourself. Scarlett was dragged away by the police, still cursing incessantly. Order was gradually restored in the hall, leaving behind only the scattered mess. Marcus stood there quietly, clutching his shoulder and watching me, appearing particularly isolated and humiliated and dejected. After the auction, although my body was unharmed, my spirit had been deeply shaken. Back home, I felt somewhat exhausted, and my complexion wasn't good. Ever since those vexing incidents half a year ago, my body had never fully recovered, just as Ethan had managed to help me recover. I was once again thrust into danger. Ethan carefully helped me to the sofa, then poured a glass of warm water and handed it to me. He knelt before me, holding my hand. His eyes, however, held a dense, unshakable guilt and self-reproach. I'm sorry, Grace. His voice was somewhat hoarse. It's my fault for not protecting you. I was right by your side, yet I let you be so startled. Seeing him like that, my heart softened, and I squeezed his hand in return. It's not your fault, Ethan. Scarlett, she's just too extreme. You've done more than enough for me. I tried to give him a reassuring smile. Really, I'm fine. I'm just a little tired. He gently pulled me into his embrace, resting his chin on the top of my head. After recuperating at home for a few days, I felt a bit stifled and wanted to go for a walk in a nearby park. Ethan was in the middle of an important video conference. Hearing that I wanted to go out, he looked at me with a worried expression. I assured him that he should focus on work and left by myself. It was a beautiful early autumn afternoon, with bright sunshine. I slowly walked along the park path, enjoying the rare tranquility. Grace, a familiar voice suddenly called from behind me. I paused, without turning around, already knowing who it was. Marcus emerged from behind a tree and stood in my path. His face was haggard, and traces of blood faintly showed on his shoulder. Grace. He opened his mouth, his voice dry. I'm sorry about yesterday, and everything from before. It was all my fault. I said nothing, just watched him quietly, my gaze calm and unruffled. Seeing my lack of response, he stepped forward eagerly. I know it's too late for anything I say now, but I truly regret it. I shouldn't have treated you like that for Scarlett. I shouldn't have left when you needed me most. And I certainly shouldn't have forced you to sign that divorce agreement. He spoke incoherently, beginning to reminisce about the past. I remember when we first got married. You would wait for me to get off work every day and cook late-night snacks for me. Once, when I had a fever, you stayed by my side all night. Grace, those days, I truly can't forget them. Enough. I finally spoke, my voice cold. Let bygones be bygones. We both have our own lives now. Let's not bring up the past. Marcus's eyes darkened, and a pained expression appeared on his face. Do you really not care at all anymore? Yes, I answered unequivocally. No sooner had I spoken than Ethan's figure appeared not far away. He was probably worried about me, having rushed over after his meeting. Seeing in front of me, Ethan's brow furrowed slightly, and he quickly walked to my side. I hugged Ethan, and he naturally wrapped his arm around my waist, casting a sharp glance at Marcus. Marcus looked at Ethan's hand on my waist. His lips moved, but in the end, he couldn't say anything. Ethan no longer looked at him, lowering his head to gaze at me tenderly. The meeting's over. I'll go for a walk with you. I nodded, leaning into him. The moment Ethan appeared, the cold air around us seemed to warm up again. We walked away side by side, not sparing Marcus another glance. Not long after, I received news of the family's bankruptcy. It turned out that after Scarlett was taken away by the police, her lover realized their scheme had been exposed. So, abusing his authority, he swiftly transferred all available liquid assets from the company's accounts. Then he booked the earliest flight, absconded with the funds, and vanished without a trace. The sudden disappearance of this massive sum was like pulling out the last cornerstone of the family. The group was already teetering on the brink due to the scandals involving Marcus and Scarlett. Now, it instantly plunged into a credit crisis. Partners swiftly terminated their contracts, and stock prices plummeted. In just a few days, the family, once prominent in Sterling City, was now forced to mortgage even their homes. Marcus was overwhelmed. He sold off all his assets, but still couldn't cover the losses. He also faced immense pressure from both within and outside the family, along with various lawsuits. He completely lost the means and energy to bother me again. Ethan looked at me with concern, worried that these events might affect my mood. Though I pretended not to care, he still thoughtfully arranged a trip for us. Grace, let's go somewhere to clear our minds. How about we go to Bali? I'd love to watch the ocean with you. I happily agreed. Our days by the sea were incredibly soothing. It felt as if all worries were insignificant in the face of the vast ocean. Ethan and I lay on beach chairs, listening to the waves crash against the shore. The salty sea breeze swept over us, carrying the scent of freedom. I closed my eyes, savoring the rare tranquility and ease. All the painful memories of the past seemed to have drifted away with the sea breeze. I had finally, truly escaped it all. Seeing my happiness, Ethan canceled his upcoming company engagements, content to stay and watch the ocean with me. We stayed by the sea for a long time. The day we returned home, the plane landed smoothly at Sterling City International. Ethan took my hand and we headed toward the exit. But just as we neared the exit, a scene not far away caught my eye. A group of children were teasing a beggar curled up in a corner. The beggar was dressed in rags, his hair matted and filthy. He seemed disoriented, his mind clouded, and kept kowtowing in a certain direction. Passers-by pointed and whispered. A gust of wind blew, parting the beggar's messy hair that obscured his face. I paused, my steps faltering. I never expected Marcus to have fallen so low. His eyes were vacant, his face covered in grime, bearing no resemblance to the former young master of the family. No matter how the surrounding children mocked him, he seemed devoid of emotion. He simply continued, over and over, kowtowing in the direction where the family once stood. Marcus's forehead was already bruised and scabbed from kowtowing, and now fresh trickles of blood seeped through again. Yet he persisted in this single motion. Ethan sighed, shooed away the children surrounding him, and left some food nearby. Marcus, with a look of surprise, kowtowed towards us. His lips parted slightly, and he mumbled something. I was wrong. I was wrong. Grace, I was wrong. A wave of wistful reflection was all that remained in my heart. Marcus's current plight could only be seen as the inescapable consequence of his actions. Ethan squeezed my hand and asked softly, should we send him back to the family? I withdrew my gaze, shook my head without hesitation, my voice calm and firm. Everyone has their own destiny. Let's go home. The sun shone on me, stretching my shadow long. Ethan's shadow and mine intertwined, as we walked hand in hand towards the light ahead. Let the shadows of the past remain buried behind us. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.